friends, and welcome to the Awkwardness Podcast, where we interview songwriters about how they began songwriting, and they play us one of the first songs they ever wrote. I'm your host, Rose Sean, coming at you once again with my co-hosts, Terence LeClaire and Tony Tancredi. Today we're talking to a singer-songwriter who splits her time between DC, Nashville, and LA. She's got a law degree, but her first love, music, called her back, and now she's got a new album out and has been on tour with Tyler Hilton and BB Mac. We're interviewing Jessica Carter Altman about writing musicals with her brother, performing at the Kennedy Center with her mom, and the way life continues after a profound change. Stick around to hear how grief can be both a noun and an adjective in the same song. Here's our chat with Wonder Woman Jr., Jessica Carter Altman.
I mean, with any job, there are elements where you don't like it. I mean, that's true of everything, but
Right.
There's also the saying that if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life.
Exactly.
Right.
So
I feel that.
it's that balance. I mean, you can either have a job that you don't really love and you're not passionate about, and there's still going to be stuff that sucks more than others.
Yeah.
Or you could do something you really love, and there will be some stuff that sucks more than the rest of it.
Yeah.
Although from personal experience, there's the stuff that I don't like is so minimal that I just I just can't believe this is what I get to do, because for the longest time it's what I did in my free time. This was like, that was the only time all the free time I had just went to music, and
so then
There
you
you
had
go.
no free time.
I had no free time.
Yeah.
I had no free time, but it was great. It was fun in a very exhausting, different kind of way.
But you
Yeah.
have time to be here with us today.
Yay.
Welcome.
Awkwardness, Jessica Carter
Yeah.
Altman.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome to
Hello.
Awkwardness.
Thank
How are
you guys
you?
for having me. I'm great. Happy to be here.
Yay.
Well, we're happy to have you.
In California.
In
Yeah.
California.
Happy to have you in
That's
California.
right. Because you were I guess, bi-coastal, multi-city.
I'm everywhere and I'm nowhere. But this week is a particularly fun week because I just played iHeartRadio, Duncan Lounge, and
Yay.
that kind of kicked off this week where my album comes out,
Yeah.
and then I'll play at the Troubadour. So I'm just riding a high all this week.
Oh,
so.
that's right. I saw that you're playing the Troubadour.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's very fun.
Yeah, it's such an iconic spot.
Oh, yeah.
Truly, truly iconic, and just like a nice intimate room, and it always sounds good.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's
Sound
very
system there's
exciting.
kicking.
Well, that's where you are now. But let's talk about what's the first memory you have of interest in music.
I honestly don't remember a time where I didn't love it. My mom particularly loves the stories where she would be singing and I would like cover her mouth so that I could sing. Very charming. I don't do that anymore.
Why not?
What songs were those, curiously? Like,
She made up a bunch of songs. She was really good at making up lullabies and things like that. And there's one that it always pops into my head that she would sing, and those ones that really stick in your mind forevermore. So I won't do that to you so that everyone doesn't have.
Do it.
I mean, this is
Do
the
it.
show for
Maybe
it.
a
Please.
snippet.
Okay, there was one. Let me take off one of these ears so I can hear myself a little bit better. It was red and yellow and pink and green, purple and orange and blue. I can sing a rainbow, sing a rainbow, sing a rainbow too.
I love that one.
That's
a hit.
That is
That's a
so
hit.
great. And I think maybe it's just worth mentioning that your mom is literally Wonder Woman, which is very cool. And
Shout out.
yeah, and I think it's funny that you were like competing for the mic with her.
I mean, when you're a kid, it's not like I had any concept of it.
Yeah, I know.
That's adorable.
No, I mean, that's kind of what makes it funny is you're like, listen, I don't care if you are Wonder Woman lady. This is my solo.
It's my time.
That's very cute. And I think I read that you actually like played some music with your parents with your mom, with your brother.
I did. Well, I grew up playing with my brother specifically. He is a great guitar player, and so we grew up putting on full musicals and plays and making songs together,
nice.
which was always really fun. And our poor parents would come back from dinner out, and we'd be like, "Great, we've been working on this musical. Please sit."
Yeah.
And I don't know how they had the patience for that, but we did it more times than I probably cared to admit. And then when I got a little bit older, I got chances to perform with my mom, and I got to perform with her at some really iconic venues like the Kennedy Center, Jazz at Lincoln Center, Catalina Jazz Club in LA, and we recorded a couple of things together. So it's really fun. We came a long way from the covering of the mouth to performing duets together.
And the musicals, like, where was the influence for like the musical? Was it like rock operas, or was it like?
It was just whatever popped into our heads, and I was always the bad guy.
You were always the bad guy?
Always the bad guy, which I didn't like, and I threw a stink about. But I was the youngest, and I was overruled.
So your brother made you be the bad guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Already directing.
I can actually really relate to this because one of my best friends since I was like 4 years old, she and I used to do that when we were little, and she's 2 years older than me. So I was always like the maid or something. But our parents were also very, very patient and supportive of, watching our musicals, which I don't know how developed yours were, but ours were basically just more or less improvisational.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You had no budget.
No budget. Yeah, no budget. But it's very cute, and we love supportive parents.
We do.
We love our parents like patiently going, "Yes, great job, honey."
Yeah, be engaged, not falling asleep while they watch us after a lengthy dinner and they come home.
Right.
They just wanted to check out.
Maybe.
Thank you to all the parents out there that
Yeah,
watch their
seriously.
kids' musicals.
Yes.
I love though that you and your brother were like actually writing together. You're kind of telling us off mic about just having this like long collaboration where he would write music and have you basically top line it before I'm sure you had that vocabulary for it.
Yeah, he still does it sometimes. He's a great guitar player, and he always is fiddling around and making up riffs and doing things. And when he has something he likes, he'll kind of send it to me randomly even now and say, "Hey, if you want to use it, it's yours."
I
Which is
love
awesome.
that.
That's really
Cool,
fun.
yeah.
That's really great. Did you take any piano lessons or play guitar or anything like that?
I did. So I took piano lessons, I took guitar lessons, and then in my infinite wisdom, decided that I needed breath control if I wanted to be a singer. And so in my mind, it's like the flute. If I play the flute, I will have better breath control and be a better singer. So then I quit those much more practical instruments and learned how to play the flute.
I mean, it makes sense.
Flute is really hot right now.
It is.
I mean,
Lizzo made it hot.
exactly. And then Andre 3000 put out an entire flute album. So
I have not heard that. I'm going to have to check it out. It'll make me rethink my my decision.
I actually have not listened to it, but I do know that it exists. And yeah, so, maybe flute, maybe you were just ahead of your time.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, but a good idea at the wrong time is still a bad idea.
Yeah, okay.
Well, did it work with your breath control or no?
Who's to say?
Yes.
That's great. So I first of all didn't even know that your mom had a band, which is cool. At what point did she start kind of incorporating you into performance?
She actually started incorporating my brother first. She was playing at the Kennedy Center and she needed a second guitar for one song. So she asked him to learn it. And he just came out for one song. And then the next year, my dad told my mom, he goes, "Well, Jamie did it last year. Have Jesse do it this year." And I immediately said yes. So great. That's an iconic venue. That sounds so much fun. And at the time, I was actually in law school and didn't fully appreciate how nervous I would be going out there.
Right.
And I was
Why? I don't understand.
yeah. I mean, playing at the Kennedy Center, no pressure. And I had a white knuckle grip on my microphone. I was so nervous, but it was a really special, fun time. I mean, to get to see your parent work as a professional and get a glimpse of them in that world is special and really cool.
Yeah.
What song is it? Because could we put that in the show notes? Like,
Yeah, are there any videos of that? Or?
Yeah, it's all on Spotify.
Yeah.
We did
Oh, there we go.
2 Everly Brothers songs. What it's like All I Have to Do Is Dream
Yeah.
and Gone, Gone, Gone.
Yeah.
So
nice.
you can loop it in there.
Yeah, there you go.
But that
Show
was when
notes.
you were in law school. So
Yes.
that was a bit later. For some reason, I read some article where they talked about it. For some reason, I thought I was imagining you as like a much younger person.
No.
I wonder if you would have been more or less nervous had you been like 10 years old.
It's interesting. I was just talking to somebody about this because I was watching videos of some, famous singers now, Sabrina Carpenter, Taylor Swift, Dua Lipa perform as kids, as young teenagers, and this confidence that they have. And, you start to reflect about the confidence you had when you were that age. And something happens along the way that even if you get better and you're technically better and you're stronger and you know that intellectually, it's hard to tap into whatever that confidence was. So that's been my own personal journey as a touring performing artist, is how do I get back to that place?
That's very real. And I think you actually mentioned, maybe it was your niece or somebody, kind of watching them sing with this just sort of pure joy and confidence, and like that being kind of like the beautiful side of naivete is like, there's nothing in your head going, I can't do this.
No, you're just out there like, I'm slaying.
Yeah, exactly. I was, it's my goddaughter. And
your goddaughter.
I got her a little karaoke machine, and she hosts big concerts. And I was just talking to a friend of mine, and her goddaughter, she said that she went over to go visit her, and she walked into the room, and she was standing on the bed with all of her stuffed animals, and she's singing her little heart out. And she looks at my friend Melissa. She goes, "Do you want to come in? Okay, I'll give you a VIP ticket," and writes the ticket out for her.
Nice.
And hands it to her. And she goes down and sits. And I mean, where does that confidence go?
That's so cute.
I want it. I want a bit of that.
I have a theory, and I think it's puberty.
Yeah, well, we just have to stop caring what other people think. That's
Well, yeah.
the second we start caring what anyone else thinks, we're like, I'm not good enough.
Yeah, right. No,
Who cares?
And ergo, puberty.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just my personal theory. But so aside from like doing musicals for your parents, where did performance start for you?
I joined my first chorus when I was 6 years old, and I was in some kind of choir until I graduated high school.
Oh, wow.
And then I had started a band when I was in like the 7th or 8th grade, joined a show choir, did musical theater. I just loved being on stage. I did, though, have some bad experiences when I was performing in high school, and that's, for me, where I started getting very self-conscious as a performer. And even though I always wanted to be a singer and a musician and an artist, I felt ridiculous to say that was my dream. You know, there are not a ton of musicians that grow up in Washington, D.C. There are some creatives, but people don't really talk about it as a dream that they have when they're graduating high school. And so, I went off to college, and inertia kind of took over, and I did well in college. So I was like, okay, I'll go to law school. Law school is going to be the ticket, so I can then do whatever I want with that education kind of behind me. And in law school is when I went back to music, and I started performing and working again.
That does actually make a lot of sense to me when you say it like that, because again, like similar experience of like, I'm not from LA, I'm not even from DC, I'm from, so I remember people fully making fun of me for being like, I want to be a rock star. They're like, yeah, sure you do. And you're like, oh. But I mean, also like DC is sort of like LA, but for lawyers, essentially, instead of for like actors.
I joined the industry.
Yeah.
And comedians. There's a pretty big comedy crowd out there.
Speaking
but
of,
the industry there is mostly like politics.
Jim Gaffigan has a story where he's like, that dream where everyone wants to be a stand-up comic, and his friend was like, no, I think that's you. You should follow that dream. But I want to go back and talk about that band.
Yeah,
what's the band's name that you started?
I don't even remember. There was this little music school in Bethesda, Maryland, and I started taking voice lessons there. And then with a couple people, they put together this little band. My most vivid memory of that, because I was probably about 13 years old, was playing 99 Red Balloons.
Oh. Nice.
I was playing the keys, and I mean, I'm sure we were terrible.
But you had the confidence.
But I had the confidence. It was like, I can totally do that. And I can sing the German lines, no problem. And actually, my brother, going back to my brother, he actually did a demo. He recorded an album there when he was in high school.
Wow.
Like
he really was all in on it.
That's amazing.
Too bad I don't have any of those on my phone.
Oh, that
they
would
were
be
good.
cute. Well, this is about you anyway. But was that band sort of like put together by adults, or did you guys organize?
It was put together by adults, and then I joined a show choir, and that took over my life.
Did the band do any performances, or was it just kind of like recitals at the school or something?
Recitals
like that?
at the school mostly. It's an experience. It was, musical exploration, going out on a limb, playing with people that you don't know, and there's nice experience in that. But I guess I was more focused on musical theater, show choir, chorus, all of those things.
And these were mostly covers, or did you start sort of writing songs at that point?
I was really only writing things with my brother. I loved reimagining and recreating songs that I loved. That was always something that I enjoyed doing, is taking it and twisting it and putting it in my own voice and reinterpreting it. That was always something that I loved to do. I didn't really take songwriting seriously until probably about 5 years ago. And so fairly recently that my musical journey was way more focused on performing and becoming a better vocalist. And I realized that it was really important for me to try to express myself in my own words. And that was a really important piece for me. But there were some steps I needed to take before then. And so I was writing, as I said, a lot of half songs that were just unfinished and I never wanted to share with anybody. And we were talking about the artist's way, off mic, and the concept of the creator versus the editor is really hard because I would have them both kind of simultaneously existing. So I'd write 1 or 2 lines and then I would cross them out. And you don't really make a ton of progress that way. And the way that I like to write now is just let my mind kind of free write. And especially if I'm in a co-write with a couple other people, I like to create a Google Doc and just free write. And some of it's terrible, but some of it, people look at it and they get inspired maybe by something I wrote, or you pull 2 lines. And it's really cool the way that comes about. It was actually, interestingly, I met this artist who's actually in LA. His name is Mike Giddis, and great artist. If you guys want to go look him up, he's very, very talented. But I was showing him my song Fake It, and I showed him the Google Doc, and he was looking at the lyrics for a really long time. And I didn't realize that all of my graveyard of lyrics that did not make the actual song, he was going through so he could see my train of thought.
Nice.
Which is really interesting that he wanted to see kind of how I landed, where I landed.
Oh, that's
that
nice.
cool.
He was trying to see your process.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, to like deep dive, because I love that song, by the way. So
Thank you.
What was some of the hidden gems that were lost in there of the process,
I mean, I could pull it up and I could find the graveyard of those lyrics. That one was a bit of an academic exercise because the song is actually based off of, I went to the University of Michigan Law School, and the song was based off a law school class called Faking It.
Interesting.
Which I actually never took. But my property professor, he taught that class, so he would bring up little tidbits of it. And the idea is really about people not being their authentic selves and how in day-to-day life people are acting with that fear of being found out. And I always struggled with imposter syndrome, not feeling worthy of opportunity or feeling like I might be found out because I don't have that confidence to back it up. And I really wanted to write a song about that, especially as, a lawyer who quit the law after not really doing that much in music for a few years and being a full-time musician. And the power of that fear goes away, that fear of being found out. The second you admit to it, it just goes away. And nobody really shames you for it because everybody feels like an imposter every now and then, which is cool. And that's the coolest part about music and songwriting.
That's beautiful. I love that.
You mentioned in some piece of press I read that you mentioned imposter syndrome, but also just sort of like being really afraid of being vulnerable in your songwriting, which I guess is kind of to the same point. But, it's interesting to be like, I have something to say, but I don't know if I want to say the thing that I really think. Even though that's the advice, like every person who's putting themselves out there to like tell songwriters what they should do is like be vulnerable, like lay bare your soul. And you're like, but that's scary.
It's really scary.
What if people just see my soul and they don't like it?
I mean, it's going back to the like not caring anymore.
Yeah.
There was, it was my first original song release, Lucky One, that came out. And that song really hit all of the personal notes that you're talking about. I wrote the song actually about my dad. It was during the pandemic and he was sick. I actually wrote a lot of that song on a walk with my dog. And I was just singing into my voice memo on my phone. And when he was sick and, during COVID, if someone was in the hospital, they really wouldn't let anybody go see.
Yeah.
So I talked to my producer. I really wanted to have an acoustic recording of that song so that I could give it to him. So when he was in the hospital, he could listen to it and just know how loved he was and is. And I kept the vocal the exact same. The guitar is the same. We added some instrumentation to it before we released it. But right before, I think it was like a week or two before we were going to release it, I immediately had all of that anxiety of, wait, I don't know if I can put this out into the world, like it's been mine. I love it. I'm proud of
Yeah.
it. But, what if people don't like it? It would like hurt my heart in a, maybe not a serious way, but it would still be painful to have something so special be criticized. And I was talking to my producer, Jason Lenning, about this fear about not putting it out. And he said, it's your choice, but that's kind of the point
Right.
of writing and releasing music is to put yourself out there.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really sweet.
Yeah, it was really sweet. I feel really lucky. I've got such great people around me that are supportive and lovely.
Yeah.
That is funny though, because anxiety isn't logical, right? Because it's like, well, yes, of course, that is the point. And like you wrote and recorded a song with the intention of releasing it, and then when you start to release, it's like, well, wait a minute, do I have to do this part?
We don't
It's like,
actually have to release it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
we don't
you do.
have to, but it's
But you want to.
sort of what you set out to do.
Yeah.
So maybe try it.
Yeah, it's like the final point, the final step in the writing process for me. The way that you've created something, you've done everything, it's been your baby. Let it out and let people do with it whatever they're going, and be okay with that. And try not to base your reaction and feeling on the song by whatever it does in the world. You have to feel good about it. You've done everything in your control, and now just let it be.
Right. Let it take on its own life.
Baby
And-
bird leaving the nest.
Yeah. And the thing is too, like, nothing's going to resonate with every single person either. So it's like, it's okay if there's some people who don't, and maybe they'll even leave you nasty internet comments. But
What's that? There's a saying. It's if 50% of the world hates you and 50% of the world loves you, you're the biggest pop star in the
Yep.
world.
You're
yeah,
doing great.
exactly.
Everyone's talking about you.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, isn't that wild?
And then it's also like learning that like when people talk shit, we can curse on this podcast, right? I forget.
I don't know. You tell me.
I know, right? Like I forget.
we can. It's allowed.
I forget our own rules. But like, even that says more about people than it does about you and the work you do. If anything, as an artist, you're creating something that evokes a reaction, positive or negative, then you as an artist are doing your job, right? Because you're like evoking emotion. That's not necessarily the goal, but like it's very Four Agreements, like don't take it personally.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it says more about them, their reaction, than it does about what you did necessarily, right?
And all forms of art are supposed to have some reaction, whether it's to make you
Yeah.
feel good, make
Yeah.
you think, make you angry.
Yeah.
It's supposed to make you feel something.
Yeah, yeah. And honesty is such a, like, it's being authentic and being honest with your songwriting and your lyrics. It's like a beacon of, like in the night where it's like people are like, oh, this is something real and true. I can take this and learn from it, That makes sense?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I love
It's
about
also
it.
like the perception you're saying that it says more about them than it does about you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, how many times have you heard a song in different points of your life? You interpret it the message of it completely
Yeah.
differently.
Totally.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah.
Or even if you know that the song isn't about the thing, there will be like maybe the chorus really resonates with you on something you've experienced.
And just like that songwriting process, a lyric that you might have an opinion about for somebody else might trigger something in them where they're like, oh my God, this makes me think of this,
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Like it's a puzzle we all put together.
There was actually this song. I went into a write. I had this idea for a song called "Grief Travels," which I didn't end up recording or putting out because it felt a little heavy to do that. I do love that song, though. I think it's actually well written. But when I said it, and I was talking to a co-writer of mine, and we interpreted the title completely different. I said, I want to write a song called Grief Travels about how grief travels with you. You can try to run as far away and as fast as you can, but it's always going to be the shadow behind you, so you might as well deal with it. And he had it where it was Grief Travels, where I had grief as a noun and he had grief as an adjective.
Right.
And so we ended up writing a song with that kind of double meaning.
Wow.
Based on that interpretation of it.
Love
That's
it.
cool, yeah.
So it's like a grief travel, like versus grief travels.
Right, like,
Yes.
Got
like
it.
taking a grief trip.
When did you find out that you meant different things? In the process.
Pretty quickly, actually.
okay.
Like it was the first maybe 15 or 20 minutes. The way that, especially, I have a couple people in Nashville that I write with a lot. And I usually try to go down with, and you always show up to a write differently, but I like to usually come with a lot of ideas, some lyrics, some melody ideas. And that particular time I had a bunch of just kind of general concepts to see. And then I go to the room and, I share those ideas with people about what to write, and to see what resonates with everybody, to see what's feeling inspiring that day, and what feels inspiring one day might not the next. And that one, so we were talking about that idea back and forth about what we would want the song to convey. And very quickly we realized that we were talking about different things.
Totally different parts
Which made
of
us
speech.
immediately want to write that song.
That's awesome.
I have one quick question for you before we get to your old song. At what age did you start writing with your brother?
Oh gosh, probably when I was like 14. That feels about right. 14, 15.
And you're saying at that point you were kind of writing half songs and then like reworking a lot of covers?
Yeah, so he and I would mess around. Like I would be in his room and he'd be messing around in his guitar, and I would sing along with him while he was playing.
Was it acoustic?
It was acoustic. He would play we shared a wall growing up as well, and he would play his electric guitar with like the amp, I swear, blasting.
Oh yeah.
As older brothers do.
Yeah. He was just doing his job.
Privately, I had like journals that I would be kind of writing, poems and things like that in. And then when he and I were really trying to write, I think we gave my mom for some birthdays, we would like write her songs.
Yeah. Oh, that's cute.
Do
That's
things
really
like that.
cute. Okay, so tell us what you brought us.
Yeah, you
So I
sent
brought
me
you
a couple
few
songs.
things. So I sent them to Tony. I think that maybe it makes sense to start with Anxious.
Okay.
So that, as I said, I was writing a lot of half songs, and during the pandemic was when I really wanted to become a better songwriter. My first EP, which came out in 2020, was all reimagined songs. I took songs that I loved, and so I did songs like Sunny Afternoon by the Kinks, Spooky, Dusty Springfield,
Sweet.
I liked that one
Warwick
a lot.
Avenue by Duffy. So that was Missing You, Betty Who, and really just reimagining them in my own interpretation of it. That one I was also recording while I was practicing law, so my time was a little limited. And when I left my law firm, originally my plan was to perform and tour and do all the things that I had always focused on. And then the pandemic happened and we weren't leaving home. And so I saw it as an opportunity to get better at all of the things that I had never spent time really trying to work on or and hone my craft, particularly with songwriting. So I started writing a lot of half songs that I would scratch out, discard, and it was really frustrating. I was driving myself crazy. I was driving my husband crazy. And he just kept telling me, he's like, finish a song. You have to just finish one. It doesn't matter if it's bad. The next one might be better. Just finish one. So then I started, working on that. This was probably the first song that I finished in that period of time. It's called Anxious. Probably to the surprise of nobody. I wrote it about exactly how I was feeling. And you'll see kind of in these early days of writing in that period of time, a lot of the songs I was writing are really almost like diary entries of how I was feeling. And then I tried to, get a little more complex, change the point of view, use more metaphors and things like that in my writing. But this was a very early one.
Waking up, it's a new day. Sun shines like yesterday. Suddenly, out of nowhere, it's hard to breathe. It stays and it lingers. I feel the air growing thinner. I pretend that I'm just fine, but honestly, I'm a little bit anxious, feeling kinda nervous. My heart is beating fast, can't control it. I'm a little bit anxious under the surface. I'm worried even if I don't show it. I'm just a little bit anxious.
This really resonates with my early pandemic experience.
Can you give me a minute? Right now my head is spinning. Tell myself that it won't last. Just let me be. There are too many details. I close my eyes and inhale. It's only for a moment. I hope no one sees that I'm a little bit anxious
Yeah.
Dude, this would blow up on TikTok. No, I mean,
Thank you, guys.
So good and honest.
Is there any more relatable subject in?
Yeah, it was just, I was feeling so anxious, and I think people feel that way, but they don't like to admit it. And
Well, they fake it.
I love
they fake it.
Yeah.
There's a through line, my inner demons.
I mean, it's a great juxtaposition because the words are saying you're anxious, but the melody and the drive of the song is like optimistic and positive. So it's more just kind of like you're getting through the anxiety.
Yeah, I was actually inspired by a Lennon Stella song, Golf on TV. Do you guys know that song? It's a cool song. I highly recommend you guys. It's I also think that the lyrics are cool in it.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, it's great. And I wanted it to be positive. It's funny. I have two really good friends, and I had played this for them. I mean, right after I wrote it, and they tell me that they will sing it to each other all the time, just like the little
Yeah.
chorus.
A little bit anxious.
So this one is The Best I Can. Also during the pandemic, somebody had just said, I was in an argument with someone and they just were like, look, I'm doing the best that I can. And
It's all the same every day.
I mean, this lyrics, it's all the same every day. Like every day in the pandemic felt like it was the same, and there was so much stress, even though there wasn't that much going on in terms of busyness. And so it was really about the idea of I'm doing the best I can, even though I feel like I'm drowning in what I'm dealing with. And yeah,
That's really nice.
I'm doing the best I can under the circumstances knocking me down. I'm doing the best I can, getting back up again off of the ground. I'm doing the best I can right now. So hear me out.
just kind of like give everyone a break. We're all doing our best out
Yeah.
here.
That's really nice.
People don't know what to say, wanting to make it okay. But if you look in my eyes, you would see when the storm is raging on for this long, it makes it hard to hold on. I'm doing the best I can under the circumstances knocking me down. I'm doing the best I can, getting back up again off of the ground. I'm doing the best I can right now. So hear me out. I know you didn't deserve this. I'm hurting under the surface. Feels like I'm on the edge, looking down. I'm doing the best I can under the circumstances knocking me down, pulling me out, screaming out loud. I'm doing the best I can right now. I'm doing the best I can right now. So hear me out.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You guys are so nice. I'll play you any of my songs any day. You guys are great.
I remember thinking during lockdown, oh wow, in about a year, there is just going to be like an entire
Oh, yeah.
new genre of like pandemic jams, of like all these songs about like loneliness and anxiety and isolation and, completely relatable. And your father was sick right now too. So like as hard a time as anybody was having, you're like also dealing with this huge life-changing thing
Yeah.
on top of, all of the pandemic insanity.
The pandemic was difficult for me. I mean, in some ways, trying to look at life as a glass half full because nothing else was happening. I got to have a lot of time with my dad while he was sick and a lot of time with my family. But songwriting really just became my release. So it was the way that I was able to express myself. So a lot of the songs that I sent you were that first year really of the pandemic, when I'm dealing with all of these pretty intense emotions, and this was the best way that I could put it out. And then my first original EP that came out, For You, it included Lucky One, which I wrote. It's actually the only song that my dad ever got to hear before he passed away. And then the other two I wrote immediately after he passed away. And, that once I released that into the world, I mean, everything else feels easy after you kind of release songs that are that vulnerable.
Yeah.
But one of the cool things about music is it captures just a chapter and a moment of how you were feeling. And that's one of the things I love about songwriting, and particularly collaborating with other people, is that if it was a different day, if there was one more or one less person in the room, the song would be completely different.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really cool. It really captures a moment in time. And then you go back and revisit it and you listen to it again and you reinterpret it. And I think it's just so fun.
It's so much fun.
I can't believe
do.
I waited so long to really just dive into it.
And you sent me one more, Endlessly.
I did. That one, I can't even remember why. There was like a line in it that inspired it. And maybe if I listen to it again, I will be reminded. It's kind of like being haunted by the ghost of, it's this sad, missing somebody and having that kind of sad memory. But it's like, if that makes me feel closer to you, then I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it. This one's just a work tape. The other two, I think, were actual demos that we made. This is just...
Is it real life? Burn in the back of your mind. Is it some kind of ghost left behind? Either way, I'll keep it in sweet company. As I move on, it will still stay with me. It's like a dream, a mirror looking backwards honestly, showing me things that still hurt. Is it me? Or is it the memory that haunts endlessly? How does it break my heart every time? I don't want to fake the feeling that's left behind. Either way, I'll keep it in sweet company. As I move on, it will still stay with me. It's like a dream, a mirror looking backwards honestly, showing me things that still hurt. Is it me? Or is it the memory that haunts endlessly? It echoes down the halls of my mind every time I close my eyes. Wouldn't want it any other way. Catch it right before it fades. I hope it stays. It's like a dream, a mirror looking backwards honestly, showing me things that still hurt. Is it me? Or is it the memory that haunts endlessly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
That
you,
was
guys.
awesome.
And listening to it, I finally remembered the initial inspiration for it. It was the first line, "It's like a dream." My grandfather used to say, life is like a dream. And he would say it kind of in a sad way. It's, when you lose people you love, it feels like a dream. It's like they were just here and now they're gone. And so that was the sentiment that I was playing around with. I love quotes and phrases. That's where I get a lot of inspiration from. I just had a release called Smoke. It was I had this visual in my mind of Bonnie and Clyde, but there is a Hunter S. Thompson quote that says, I don't want to go to the grave in a perfectly preserved body. I'd rather slide in broadside in a cloud of smoke, loudly proclaiming what a ride. There was just something cool about and energetic and positive. It's just saying, all right, this isn't working. Like, light a match, let's blow it up, and let's get out of here.
Yeah, I love that Hunter S. Thompson quote.
It's beautiful. It's really interesting too, because like as a lawyer, language is the most important thing you deal with, right? Like the words and everything, and you have an ability of detecting like the words that carry this emotional sort of like story within them, and like you carry them in. Like the quote from your grandfather, that's kind of like his little like contribution to the tapestry of that song. I wonder how much of like your legal background has helped you with your lyrics in that sense.
I think it has in a lot of ways once I figured out how to control it. So initially, one of the things I kept running into is writing and telling something rather than showing. And a lot of times in songwriting, you don't want to be told what something is. You want it described. You want it be lost in the moment. There was, that Bonnie Raitt song, "I Can't Make You Love Me."
Oh, love that one.
The opening lines: "Turn down the lights, turn down the bed, turn down these voices inside my head." You immediately have a picture in your head about what she's going to sing about.
Well, the scene as it is visually and the scene as it is in her mind.
Yes,
completely.
exactly.
Yeah.
It would be way less interesting to just have her say exactly what she's thinking. It's like, I'm going crazy right now.
Yeah.
So that was an initial struggle because a lot of legal writing they don't write that way.
Well, no, it needs to be explicit.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that was but once I was able to control it, some skills of, really finding the right word and taking the time to write something, edit it, rework whatever the line is to say exactly what you want. And I started as I think I mentioned off mic, sorry. I started writing my next album, which has been a really fun experience. The growth, that's I think all we can ask for as artists is to grow, get better, change, evolve. And, you're bringing a new perception, new experiences to it, which is really cool. And yeah, I'm so excited about it.
It's awesome. We are too.
Yeah, we are too. I mean, I think a lot of artists have like a grief album or like a grief period because so many people experience loss. And something I wanted to say about that song is that it could really be about any kind of loss or any kind of grief. It's like, has this universal feel because everybody in 2020 was like grieving something in their life that wasn't going to happen, like whether they had to like postpone their wedding or whatever, a move or a job or couldn't go on tour, whatever. And I just think it has this really like great universality.
Thank you.
But let's talk about your next album and what you've got coming up, because it sounds like a lot of exciting stuff.
A lot's coming out. I know idle hands over here. I get that's when I really get anxious. I got my album that's coming out, Aftermath, which was all written after I had an EP that came out in between when these songs were written. I had one EP come out, and then I started writing this album. And the concept was really about the aftermath in the wake of profound change and tragedy. So it's like, you're coming out from the pandemic. What does life look like? For me, I experienced what was the worst thing that I could have imagined happening. And I had this realization of, I could fall apart and lose myself to my sadness and whatever I was feeling, or I could rebuild and hope for the future. And neither of those options are easy. So I'd much rather, I chose the option of, rebuilding. But when I was writing all the songs for this album, I was trying to figure out a way to capture what I was writing about, because I had some happy songs, I had some sad songs, I had songs about imposter syndrome and being naive. And the only thing that I could think that would fully encompass it is like, what happens in the aftermath of some profound change? And life continues. It's whatever you want to make it, which I think is really cool that we have the power to do that. So that's what this whole album is about. And it's nice to finally have it out in the world and to be able to share it and perform it.
Yeah.
And as I said, that's the chapter. So I'm starting the next chapter as well, which is really fun. I'm hopefully going to have some singles that'll come out from that early next year.
Sweet.
Yeah.
It's just cool. Growing different, there'll be like different musical treatments, totally different chapter and focus. So yeah, you'll have to stay tuned for that.
Yeah, definitely.
And are you doing some touring?
I am doing touring. I'm playing at the Troubadour on Monday, which is irrelevant for the timing of this podcast. But I've been playing with BB Mac and Tyler Hilton quite a bit. So I'll go back out on the road with them this summer and hopefully into the fall. If your listeners are not familiar, they're both really unbelievable acts. It's been so much fun playing with them and hearing their stories of how they write. They're all really true musicians. It's, being backstage with BB. I mean, I grew up listening to BB Mac and singing Back Here Baby, like on my bed to my stuffed animals.
Yeah.
And,
So cool.
Backstage, they'll be fiddling around on their guitars and singing random stuff. And I remember I was in my dressing room and I just heard them kind of playing around. I think Steve was playing Tennessee Whiskey and Mark was singing. And I just kind of popped my head out of my dressing room. I was like, can I come and hang out and sit here for a little bit?
Yeah.
And Tyler is awesome. He just had an acoustic album that just came out and it's been really fun being on tour with him. So yeah, it's been awesome.
With your band, is it people you record with?
So the band that I've been playing a lot of acoustic shows lately with Matt Dozat. He is, I feel really lucky to be able to work with him. He's played with, everybody. He's played with Kelly Osbourne. He's most recently been out on tour with Seal as his lead guitar player.
Sweet.
He has his own band, Dozat St. Marie. They've been on tour with Rick Springfield. They've opened for Pat
cool.
Benatar.
Oh, cool.
So he's an unbelievable guitar player,
Yeah.
as you could imagine. And he helped me when I was first coming out to LA, put a band together out here. And it's pretty... I remember the first rehearsal, I just kept looking at all of them and I go,
Epic.
why did you guys say yes to this gig? I was playing at Hotel Cafe, and so I have two guitar players here, and the other one is Michael Fish Herring. He had just gotten back from playing with Christina in Malta. So I was like, what is it like? You just played to a crowd of 20,000 people, and now we're going to play to a crowd of 200.
Yeah.
It's awesome. They're all such professionals. Brandon Brown, Pastor Funk, if you guys are in LA,
Ooh.
He does a show at Gold Diggers on Monday nights sometimes, and I went and checked it out. It's so fun. You guys, if you're in LA, it's worth checking out. They're amazing musicians. Dylan Elise has been playing drums. He's always on tour. I think he gets back Friday. We rehearse Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He's got a gig, I think, Saturday night, and then he's gigging with me on Monday, and I think he leaves again.
Wow.
Alexander Burke plays keys. and
Yay,
he's
shout out Alex. We love Alex.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, you guys
yeah.
may know him.
Oh, of course.
Oh
Yeah,
my
he's
gosh.
From Mortified
Wow.
and from just all kinds of life.
Yeah, he just finished writing a musical.
Yeah.
So talented.
Nice.
And then, but this gig, the bass player that I'll have is Flex, who I will be meeting on Friday, which I'm excited about. He's been playing with Christina and Fish for a long time, so I'm excited to meet him. But
Yay.
the band is pretty stacked. They're
Oh my gosh.
stellar.
That's
and
amazing.
That's an understatement.
yeah, it's
wild.
now you know what I was saying, and
Yeah.
I get into the room, and I'm just like, so I'm pretty sure they're stuck with me at this point. They're awesome. Feel really, really, really fortunate to get to work with them.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I'm so happy for you. And
Same. That's dope.
your new stuff is amazing. I was
Thank you.
literally listening to it on the way here.
What was your favorite song? No pressure.
What was it called? Bad Energy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. That's
a
that
good
one's
one,
fun.
That
Yeah.
energy is fantastic. You know what? I think Smoke. I think Smoke might have been my favorite.
Nice.
Yeah, I kind of identified with that. Like, well, if it's gonna blow up, let's just blow it up big.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you guys for listening, and thank you guys for having me
Thank
on
you
this
for
podcast.
coming.
It's
Thank
really
you for
fun.
coming to the
Absolutely.
podcast.
Jessica Carter Altman.
I just love hearing the way people evolve as a songwriter. One of my favorite parts of doing this show. It's really impressive how much Jessica's accomplished in such a short time. Her new album, Aftermath, came out this year, and it really is a whole emotional journey with some real bangers and also some sweet love songs like the one she wrote for her wedding. We were lucky enough to go to her album release show at the Troubadour, and it was amazing. That band she was talking about, holy hell. They are truly incredible, and they played a pop punk cover of Cher's Life After Love that was just chef's kiss. Be sure to check out her music on the internet and go see her live if you get a chance. Follow her on socials for more info. Follow us too. We want to be in your MySpace top 8 or I guess just Instagram, whatever. Subscribe to the pod, rate, review, all that. We'll have all the links in the show notes. Thanks again for listening. We appreciate it, and we will see you next week.